Elle is here to share some of her expertise for being an art on the cart teacher, dragging her wagon
I love
around.
that.
It's so good. Yeah, and then if anyone has any questions or things that they want to share with each other, that would be lovely. But yeah, we can just kind of play the evening by ear. We can go ahead and get started. I'll let you all know who I am because I know I haven't met a couple of you. Like I said, my name's Stephanie. I am helping out with the Art Ed department and program this semester. I'm an alumna of the program and have been working as a teaching artist for a number of years now. And then now I'm also working on my certification so that I can join the ranks of public school educators because it just sounds so fun when everyone talks about it. um, but yeah, so that is who I am and why I'm here. Elle, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure. My name is Elle. I've been teaching for 5 years, which sounds wild to say out loud. And before I was teaching when I was at City College, I'm an alumni too. I was a TA at an elementary school. So I've been in schools for 7 years now, which is wild.
Yeah.
Um, but so I've been non-art on a cart, and then with the past, obviously the pandemic, and then this year again, I am art on a cart. So I've been in both shoes of having the glory of having your own room, and then the the pain of dragging your wagon for art on a cart. So I have dipped my toes in both at this point pretty equally. So I'm happy to share a little bit about that tonight.
Awesome. Um, Midori or Vanessa, would either of you like to share a little bit since we're a small group tonight?
Well, do you hear me? My microphone is like kind of unstable, but
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're coming through.
before I introduce myself, I have a question for Elle. So you say you were TA before you went into art teaching. So was it art or like other subjects?
No, it was, I mean, I did like go to art with the kids, but
Mm,
it was a fifth grade
general.
class and then
Mm.
a fourth and a fifth grade
Oh,
self-contained
so
class.
like
So no, I
you.
was just like helping the teacher through all the regular subjects, and then I'd go to lunch with the kids. I'd go to
Mm.
their cluster teachers with the kids. So it was a great experience coming to New York City school, obviously. And
Oh,
I didn't grow up in New York, so I didn't know like what it was going to be like. So it was a really great experience because I got to be with the kids, experience like
mm.
what's a day look like, right? And then it was nice because I didn't have to go home and plan anything. Instead, I went up to City College and took my. So yeah,
Just
I
relaxing in
wasn't
its
the
own
art
way.
Mm.
then, if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh well. So I guess I'm kind of similar in that sense. Like I did my undergrad in visual arts, but then like decided I wanted to switch to education, and then but I first went into early childhood because I like the energy of the young children. But then early childhood is just a general ed. Like you have to be able to like teach all the subjects and like like coming from art background, I kind of felt like, okay, I think kids are like more able to do more like so I kind of want to focus on art. So like I that's why I'm in the art ed. And then but I do miss like being with the students all the time. It's like you get to build more bond with each
Mhm.
student. So like that's the beauty of like being a general ed teacher, I think. So but you know I think there will be some way to do that as an art teacher too. So that's what I'm hoping to get.
Yeah, something I'll say about that is one of the beautiful things about being the art teacher is that, if you're there at that school for a long enough time, like I've been at my school for this school and for 3 years, because I did 2 years in the Bronx.
Mhm.
Um, and like I've seen the kids from like kindergarten now up to what? So kindergarten, first, six. So now they're in second grade, right? So even though I'm not with them, I only see them once a week, but now it's like I've seen them in kindergarten, I've seen them in first grade, I've seen them in second grade. So every year you're not relearning names, right? You already know them, you know what they're capable of, you know how awesome they are. So you really are, in a same way, you are building that bond. It's just a little slower and sometimes even more special because you're not with them every single day. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a week. Oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. And then it's like, oh my God, I remember when you were this tall and now you're like taller than me. So there is still that like the connections, you still have them. It's just in a different way. So you don't lose that fully as a token of hope.
It's good to know.
That's
Thank you.
that's a beautiful perspective.
Hey, hi, my name is Vanessa, and I just graduated in June. So I'm like on the job search and everything, and like I'm just trying to absorb all the information I can get. So that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Fun times, the job search.
Ah. Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you both so much for coming. So yeah, I guess Elle, I can ask you some questions if that's helpful. And we can go from there. And then if anyone else has questions that come up, we can chat about those too. Um, but yeah, I guess if you want to just kind of talk a little bit about like what being art on a cart actually looks like in practice, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So you literally do have a cart. Can I share pictures?
Um,
I
let
didn't take pictures
me,
of my cart, which I'm sorry, I can send you them. The a real life messy cart. But
I'll
I
just make you a co-host and then hopefully you can
does it let
control
me draw?
stuff.
You would think I would be better at Zoom point in my life, but I am not. I don't know. Can you share pictures?
If you open them on your computer so that it's open in preview, then you can share that tab or like that window.
Okay. Well, just as a visual, I guess I'll share my
Yeah.
screen.
When I was looking for like clip art for the newsletter to share that we were going to be talking about this tonight, and I just kept finding like the perkiest looking teachers and like little like vintage like 1950s style outfits with their carts, and I was like, that's not what it looks like.
Oh, can you see it? I don't know if it went away.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, so that's I'll send a picture of my actual art on card, but that's literally what I have, just as a nice little visual. So that's what it looks like. I asked, and like as an art teacher, you have to be extremely like vocal and like stand up for yourself, especially elementary. I think high school is a different ball game because you kind of have to have a room almost. So I think art on the card is more definitely for the lower or sometimes middle school too.
Mm.
But I had to ask my principal, like, I need a cart on every single floor. So, like most school buildings, there's actually 4 floors because the basement where the art room is. But now it's the guidance counselor's office. Don't know. Okay. Um, so I have a cart, that one of those carts, like I just showed, on each floor. So with that said, is that I don't really like have the art room anymore. Last year was a little bit easier in the sense that I didn't have to move any of the materials out of there. So I could just like, it became my storage room. I had everything in there. I knew where it was. I could go like, oh, I need this today. Good. It's going on this card. It's going on this card. It's going on this card. This year it's a little different. I have like those metal filing cabinet shelves, one in the basement, one on the first floor, and um, uh, yeah, so I kind of keep materials all over the place, which is kind of hard. And there's like little hallways that I kind of store the cart because again, there's no room for that cart to be like rolled into. So we have like these weird narrow hallways on the sides of the building. Like there's a classroom and then there's this weird hallway that no one goes down because it leads to nothingness. So I kind of just keep the cart stored there. So, you know, that's some reality. So I feel like the storage has definitely been something I'm still figuring out this year because it's on, every floor. But you, the funny thing is that the kids, like some of them think that I carry the cart from from the basement floor up all the time. So I have like half of them convinced that I'm Superwoman, which I'm going to keep it that way. And then some of the other kids have like seen it down the like narrow hallway and they're like, we know your secret. We know you. So, it's fun to have fun. That's my best advice is to have fun during.
However possible.
Yep. But the materials is definitely the hardest part. Something that I started like middle of last year is with my students, I make sketchbooks at the beginning of the year and just, their art projects in general. It's just easier for me to label stuff by the day. So I have stuff labeled like little wash bins or like any kind of container to put projects in or their sketchbooks in or laminating folders for like their artwork if it's like a drawing project in. So just kind of labeling things on those shelves I was talking about, the storage shelves, as like Monday. So that way when I'm setting up in the morning, I have my Monday box or my Monday, stack, and I just put it on the art cart and I'm not thinking about it. It's just like, okay, this is my Monday. It's going on the cart. And then unloading that. And then like, this is my Tuesday going on the cart. So that made such a difference because beginning of last year, I was like, all right, I have this class, then I have this class. Okay, after lunch, I can load this class. Nope. Then I would just forget stuff.
Mm.
So having stuff labeled as a day, like as simple as possible, like doesn't matter what grade it is. Okay, that's the day. Made the world's biggest difference.
Yeah, that's a great hot tip.
Yeah. Oh, I got lots of hot tips. Student jobs become even more important. I mean, they already are important for the functioning of any art room or art class. But having those jobs is just everything because I'll, push the cart physically into the room and once I start class and we get into it, the kids know like, oh, if this is my job, I know I'm getting it from the art cart, passing it out, and then I'm doing whatever I need to be doing. Those students are doing their job. And then it helps with cleanup, which is one of the harder parts because you are in another teacher's classroom, which might be good, might be better at other schools. My student teacher said to me today about some of the other teachers in my school. She referenced it as like what did she say? Like a scene from Mean Girls. So the teachers
Oh.
are not all that nice. I'll just put it that way. So going into all these lovely rooms of people that aren't that nice is exciting, but terrifying. So cleanup has become everything, but it's really helped me to slow down because I feel like when I was in the art room, I'm like, oh yeah, we can draw this, we can paint this, we can do like 5 different steps of a project in one day, because I'm like, everything's here, we have everything, the drying rack's here, this is here. But yeah, no, you can't. So just slowing everything down and that being okay. Like first graders are doing some color mixing with some pumpkins, and we were just drawing today. And yeah, there probably was enough time to fit in painting as well, but it, would have been chaotic and would have stressed me out and probably stressed out the kids. So just kind of keeping things a little slower than you probably would do in the art room.
Mm-hmm.
You need more time for cleanup.
Yeah. What, so like if you were in the art room and you, like on the flip side, like if you've kind of slowed down a bit, but you have those students that are just fast finishers or aren't into a given project, and when you're in the art room, it's like that much easier to be like, well, here's the free drawing area or here's the clay area. What are your strategies for those students when you're in someone else's room?
Sketchbooks is pretty much my primary one, just because I always make sure that they're on the art cart. Make them at the beginning of the year, like they made them first week, so we have those ready to go. And they they really love their sketchbooks. They always want to take them home, and I'm like, no, they have to stay here for that reason, because I
Yeah.
know they're going to get them. So it's, yeah, I would say the sketchbooks, and they're pretty happy with that, because the day for an elementary kid is just a little bit like, oh. So just having a minute to be like, oh my gosh, I get my magical sketchbook and I get to do whatever I want in it for the last 5 minutes of class or for the last 10 minutes of class. So that's my best strategy for that. Because like you said, yeah, you're not in the art room to be like, oh, play with this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll keep a little bit of model magic on the art cart, especially with the kinder and first graders and pre-K. Just because sometimes they need more of a tactile, and drawing can be a little bit but you can get a fourth grader or fifth grader to draw all day and go there. Even if
Yeah.
it's just, let me take this color pencil and just like go. They'll do it. They'll be like, okay, explore that texture making. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, so I'm also thinking about the teachers that you're working with. And so obviously you were saying that you're kind of in a specific situation, like personality wise, but do you have any strategies or advice for like creating an atmosphere, like, because when you're in the art room, like you can put up your posters and you set everything up in a way that really supports that like creative engagement, and all you have is your personality and your cart. So what are your tips there?
A few things. Definitely, like I actually call like art class now Art City. So I call the art cart the art truck. Sometimes saying the word cart because it rolls off the tongue, but especially with like the little kids, like they're like, it's the art truck, it's the art truck. So I kind of have it as like, tried my best to be like, I call it Art City. They have like I was saying about the jobs, like I have playful names like material managers, floor friends, and I kind of like present it to them when I'm sharing the jobs with them. I present it as like, this is your job, you're working in a city, and I call them citizens. Like we learn like what it means to be a citizen, and like you have to do your job. And they know like if the material managers like forget to pass out something, then we can't fully do that project. Or if the art collector doesn't collect the project at the end of class, then it's just like laying on the table. So just like the jobs, just like creating, like I tried my best to create like this city, or like this new, like, oh, here I come with the art truck, like here we are. So you just kind of, right, you do just have yourself, your personality, and art.
Yeah,
So
your own magical nature.
yeah, so you really have, I just tried my best to play into that. I do a little, like a small mindful meditation at the beginning just to help the transition. Um, which also I need too, because I am, you're running up the stairs, pushing a cart, entering a room, you're on. So I take like just not even more than 2 minutes because I want to make some art with the kids, right?
Mhm.
So just taking like 2 minutes of some deep breathing or just like doing some senses where we like close our eyes and see if we can hear something in the distance, just to kind of like transition that they're no longer, doing reading or math, but now Art City's here, I'm getting my mind ready. I do a lot of like tapping or like get the creative juices flowing, just
Mhm.
like little silly things, but they do wonders. And then another thing with the posters that you mentioned, Stephanie, yeah, that's really hard not to have like your things
Mm.
physically there on the wall. So I feel like my PowerPoints have become even more expansive, or Google Slides, I guess, but um, just kind of like having reminders up on there, which gets a little hard because I'm like, yeah, I want you to look at this artwork, but I also want you to like, answer these questions about the artwork, or, this is how we talk, remind them how to talk in a partnership or share. So I've still bring around some like rolled up paper posters,
Mhm.
trying to get them laminated. But yeah, I feel like I use my PowerPoints a little bit more than I did in the art room. I mean, I
Mhm.
still use it, but it just is like, oh, here's a reminder, or this is what our, I don't know, protocols for talking about artwork is. So
Mhm.
just really being a little bit more tech savvy
Mhm.
with that. And then, oh, something I didn't mention, speaking of lamination, is for cleaning the, like, because the desks get really messy, I
Mhm.
made messy mats. So at the beginning of the year, I have kids work in a group and just do some like automatic drawing, play with materials. It's super messy. What they make is like wild and crazy. And they're usually really big paper. So I cut them in half and then I have the school aides laminate them. So they're about the size of their desks. So
Mhm.
they're perfect size, oddly enough. They're laminated. That's somebody's job, the messy mat manager. So their job is to put that on everyone's desk. Because usually in the art room, you have tables, you can wipe them down, they can be a little bit more messy.
Mhm.
But classroom, and pretty much every room except for one I can think of at my school is just like a solid desk, like a
Mhm.
desk, I mean, sorry, not a solid table. So having those like messy mats down makes cleanup a dream, because those can get a little bit more, like, yeah, there's some paint on that, oh well, here we go.
Mhm.
And it saves cleaning, like scrubbing tables every time. Sometimes they do need wiped down a little bit more, but again, that's somebody's job of the kids,
Mhm.
they want to help, great, here's your job, be that great art citizen.
Yeah.
So those messy mats made a huge difference because I didn't have them at the beginning of last year, and I was just like, oh my god, we cannot spend 20 minutes like sponging desks, for this is too
Yeah.
much.
That just takes up your entire
Yeah.
time. I feel like these are all also really great tips and ideas for like if anyone ends up with a teaching artist job of some kind or another, whether you're like pushing in during the day or setting up an after school program like once a week in someone else's school and like you're coming in from a museum or a nonprofit. Because yeah, I feel like in one of my recent jobs, the teachers like kept asking us to not use paint because the paint would get on the tables. And I was like, well, no, like we're gonna use paint. We're not gonna cut out that as like an entire material. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a great idea. Um, let's see. Have there, I guess speaking of like paint and the mess it can cause, are there any materials or projects that that maybe you used to do in the art room that you found to be especially challenging in the new format, that you like found a workaround for, or things that you're just like, this is on hold until I have my own space again, or like this is working great and as long as I'm using a cart, I will be working with this.
Yeah, I feel like clay has been very difficult. It was a little easier last year because there was only like half the amount of kids in the building at a time. So it felt a little bit more manageable. This year, I'm slightly unsure about how I'm going to use clay, just with like the storage of it, because at least in the art room, I could be like, oh, we're putting it on this shelf from there to there.
Mm-hmm.
But and I could keep an eye on it and like spray it. So keeping things like simpler where maybe they'll still use clay this year. Well, I want them to, because like you were saying with the paint, I don't want to take away a material.
Mm-hmm.
So like with the younger grades, I got a lot more model magic because I think that's a great alternative to clay and it's like zero mess. But I still want like the upper grades to experience clay. So I think just keeping the projects a little bit more simpler than I would do in the art room, just so they're not going back to it
Mm.
or it's something a little not so delicate that it's going to break, but not too crazy large, like nothing totally large that I don't have a place to put it. So clay is always a little bit like that was way easier in the art room.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait. Printmaking was kind of difficult too. So I kind of tweaked that to be more of like mono printing
Mm.
because before in the art room it would be like different tables were like different stations, which some of the classrooms have their desks set up as tables and some of them have them more like individual solid standalone, so that's kind of hard.
Mm.
But I did a lot more mono printing last year just because they didn't necessarily need a brayer. It was more of a simple, process of transferring the paint. I didn't even use ink, paint to the paper. um I don't know, that one's kind of the materials are endlessly a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to not give it to the kids.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great way to like keep printmaking in the curriculum because yeah, like if you are using like foam plates or some other or like collagraphs, like yeah, I also don't really know how to do that without like this is our clean area, this is our inking area, this is where they go to dry, blah blah blah. So yeah, I like the idea of monoprints and monotypes as like a way that you can still learn what it
Right.
means to make a print, but in like a more self-contained way.
Yeah. So that was a good success. I feel like was a good tweak in the
Yeah.
moment.
Um, what do you know now that you wish you had known when you first started teaching like this? I know you mentioned the daily versus class specific bins that felt like a big moment, a good thing to remember.
Let's see. I would say the cardio, the workout is real. I didn't quite know that was, I mean, you can, of course, yeah, of course you're going to be it, but I am like, woo, so in shape, just running up and down. Um, I think just like the slowing down, like I kind of mentioned that earlier, because I really feel like I would not rush things, but it just felt more like, oh, we can get this all done in the art room. And now I'm like, okay, we may, it's okay to slow down because that's less materials on the art cart that I could probably not fit too. Um, Something I probably also wish I would have known is, though I think I mentioned this to you at the beginning, but the drying rack that has wheels,
Mm.
super helpful because you're pushing your cart, but then you're also dragging the the drying rack, but it's so helpful to move that around because usually the drying racks are like pretty heavy metal. They
Mm-hmm.
don't really mobilize. And, back to being in another teacher's space, like, yeah, you can only put so many wet paintings on bookshelves and window
Mm-hmm.
heaters. Um, so I definitely wish I would have known before, like to have a better plan when things are wet, like what to do with wet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times there is some wet things, and I would like pile things up around teachers' classrooms, and they would walk in. They're like, I was like, "Oh, I'll be back next period." Yeah, I came back at the end of the day. Sure, maybe if I remember. And
Oh,
yeah,
so much to consider.
yes, being more organized. I'm getting really, really good. I mean, you're already organized because you're an art teacher. Let's not
Mm-hmm.
be, but just being even like hyper organized. I'm like, all right, yeah, ask me where something is. I can tell you now.
Mm-hmm. So is that just like taking an extra like 10 minutes at the end of the day to make sure things are where they're supposed to be? Or yeah, do you have any advice around organizing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with the days of the week, seriously made the biggest difference because
Mm.
I was doing too much thinking, and that requires way less thinking when stuff's organized. I'm better at the morning than in after school because after school, I'm looking like this and I just want to go home
Mhm.
or sit down because that's also very real. Um, but yeah, I would say in the morning, just like even if it means getting to school 5, 10 minutes earlier, just getting into that routine of setting up the cart for the day material wise, making sure I have the paint if they're painting, or something with the organization too is that I tried to make, I guess this is a weird segue, but I tried to make that materials for each grade not be like the same. Like I'm not having fourth, fifth graders are on the third floor and kindergartens on the first floor. So I'm not having kindergarten using the exact same like painting materials as say the fifth graders because I can't have, there's no way unless your school has a very high budget for art materials, which mine kind of does, but I still don't have enough to keep some on the first floor
Mm.
and while at the same time having it on the third floor. So I think the material, being mindful of different grades using different materials and where they can be, again, goes back to organizing. That way
Mhm.
I'm not in between classes. That transition time is what, like 2 minutes, if that. If your school's lucky, maybe it's 5, but there's no way to like carry that, basket of paint down from there to there and be ready to go.
Mhm.
I don't know if that answered the question, but
Yeah, no, that's great. We're taking all of it. Give us all the thoughts. Um, let's see. Oh, I want to, does anyone else have any questions for Elle? Maybe we can make a little bit of time for that. And I mean, it could be about the working on a cart, but also, like you said, you've had a good number of years of being an art teacher at this point.
yeah,
So
happy
any,
to answer anything.
yeah. And you can also type them, if you have a question, you can also type it in the chat and I can read it out loud in case anyone doesn't feel like turning a mic on right now. And yeah, if no one has any questions, Ella, is there anything else that you would want to gift us with tonight?
I feel like I could talk all day. Um, I literally do, right?
No, I'm impressed that you still have such language capability at the end of a long Thursday.
I don't know. I feel like just really, I know this is a little slightly cliche, but like having your, just as a teacher in general, just having your self-care practice in place, ready to go. And not, more deeper than a bubble bath, even though a bubble bath and a glass of wine or whatever are fabulous. But just like really having that time and energy for yourself. Like I ride my bike to work, and after I started doing that, it was just like even that time of just like, all right, it's me and the road, and I'm not having too much anxiety other than maybe a car hitting me or something. you know. But just having like, I don't know, you got to take care of yourself because this job is very hard, very rewarding and amazing in those small moments of like pure joy in the art room or in the art class. And people are just like, students are making amazing things and it's so cool. But I think that that's something I wish someone would have told me. Like, you need to get your, I don't know if I can say shit, but you need to get your shit together with yourself to just like, what are you doing for you? How are you taking care of yourself instead of coming home at the end of the day and being like, oh my God, okay, I think I need to do this, this, and this. No, you don't. What are you going to
Hmm.
do? It's going to be like good for you and making sure you're good because you can't show up for your students if you're not showing up for yourself. I know that sounds so cliche, but it is so true.
No, yeah, I mean, it's real because no matter what age group you're working with, you're just giving all of your energy. Like it's just a full day of like little by little kind of giving things away. But I think that bike commute or like some version of that is a really lovely example of like what that can actually look like in practice. And I see we do have one question, which is, would you talk a little bit more about icebreaker techniques at the start of the semester or school year?
Hmm, okay. I mean, I feel like there's lots of little games out there. Um, I have a list somewhere in my Google Drive,
Oh,
and if
we're gonna get that from you.
I can give that to you. Um, let's see. That's a good one. I feel like I haven't, I mean, I do some, but again, it's a little, I feel like in elementary, because I do know my students, I don't have to, I'm trying to remember what I did like my first year or my first year meeting these kids, anyways.
Mm,
Um, of an icebreaker technique. But I think the first day, like I did some like so they close their eyes and they just kind of do some automatic drawing and just draw on like big paper and not caring like what the result is. And they're working together. Um, that's really fun. Blind contour drawings of just like doing each other's faces. If it's like an older group, I would say, that's like a really fun, like, oh, this is silly and also kind of scary, but they're having fun. One of our other friends, our teacher friends from City College, Jackie, she she teaches middle school students, and they um, made big paintbrushes in like teams. Like they're cute, they're really big. I didn't know they were going to be that big. So she used like a bunch of recycled or found materials, and the
mhm.
kids worked together to make something. I think really having them work as a group is really important with icebreaking techniques, icebreaker
Mhm.
tech. Sometimes they feel like a little like class large group, and sometimes that can be more intimidating and a little less like, oh, I don't know yet, I don't know this teacher, I don't know everyone in my class, maybe I only know 2 kids. But when they can just have those small like intimate moments at their tables or in their groups, it definitely gets things looser
Mhm.
quicker, breaks
Yeah.
that ice.
Yeah, and I like I mean, yeah, like the little like games and get to know you activities are great, but I love the idea of using like a low stakes art making activity, like invent a new way to get paint on your paper, or invent a way of drawing where you don't have to look at your paper, like anything that really doesn't have like pressure attached to it. Because once kids are like laughing and feeling silly, then they'll automatically be more open to each other and to you and to whatever you have in store for them next. So yeah, I like that method of breaking the ice. Yeah. I was wondering if maybe, unless anyone else has anything that they are really hoping to chat about, but you mentioned that you often or always start your classes with a mindfulness thing, and maybe that might be a nice way to close us out, if you have something that would lend itself to sitting together on Zoom, like and anything that brings to mind. I know I'm springing that on you.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'll do one that I do with kindergarten, which is always fun.
Yeah.
We start by rubbing our hands together. This will only take a minute, I promise. Get them nice and warm. And then we're going to do a little jazz hand. Tap them together. And then get those creative juices activated. It also feels nice.
Mhm.
And then we're going to put our hands on our bellies. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, you can find a spot on the floor to focus on. We're going to take a deep breath in through our nose and blow it all the way out. You should feel your belly moving in. 2 more times, in through our nose, out through your mouth. Last time, in through our nose, out through our mouths. And you can open your eyes. So nothing crazy, very simple.
Thank you.
It
That
helps.
was lovely. Yeah.
Just 3 deep breaths does wonders.
I like all the hand stuff that began with as well. That felt really nice. Thank you. Well, yeah. So Elle, thank you so much again for sharing all of that with us. That was just really wonderful to get to benefit from your years in the classroom.